China has built a 200 kilometers long artificial island amidst the mangrove forests to connect the land with the sea, a construction project that has astonished the world. In 2024, a severe drought pushed the Panama Canal into an unprecedented situation. Prolonged heat and reduced rainfall have driven water levels here to a record low, forcing the Panamanian authorities to implement measures restricting the number of transiting vessels. This creates a domino effect, causing ship delays, a sharp increase in shipping costs, and growing concerns about the future of the maritime shipping industry. Forget, the Panama Canal always seeks to assert its position as a vital artery of global commerce. Each year, this route handles approximately 5% of the world. Notably, 40% of U.S. import and export goods are transported by container via this island. Therefore, any disruption to this island would have global repercussions and require an urgent solution. But a more noteworthy point is the pivotal role China is quietly playing in the search for an alternative. Could a new route soon be established? And how is China connected to all these issues? Join TITOVN to explore in today's video. A notable alternative is Mexico's interoceanic corridor, an unprecedented, large-scale infrastructure project. This project is being built on the narrowest stretch of land in Mexico, connecting the shores of the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Upon completion, this project will bring about significant transformations, not only driving economic growth but also fostering the comprehensive development of the entire region. The project includes a 188-kilometer route connecting the ports of Salina Cruz and Coatzacoalcos in the state of Veracruz. This corridor is concentrated with a synchronized and modern infrastructure system, including 2 deep water ports, a railway system, expressways, 3 airports, fuel pipelines, and an advanced fiber optic network. According to expert forecasts, this route has the capacity to transport up to 1.4 million containers per year. In fact, it could become a faster and more cost-effective option compared to transiting the Panama Canal. Currently, several components have been put into operation, but the entire project is expected to be completed in the first half of 2026. However, an even more ambitious project is the Nicaragua Canal, with a total estimated investment of approximately $40 billion. If built, this canal would not only directly connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans but would also help alleviate the ongoing congestion at the Panama Canal. 4 has been operating beyond capacity for years. From its very inception, the canal's design intended for it to traverse directly through Lake Nicaragua, the largest freshwater lake in Central America. Experts believe this project has the potential to become one of the greatest wonders in history, even making the Panama Canal seem small by comparison. Despite the remaining challenges and controversies, it is undeniable that these projects are paving the way for a new future in the global maritime trade industry. Could the Mexico-Pacific corridor truly become a competitive rival to the Panama Canal? And is the Nicaragua Canal capable of altering the landscape of global maritime transport? This is certainly a question that gives us pause. The proposed Nicaragua Island Canal project, with an estimated length of approximately 167 kilometers, will upon completion create a new maritime route, allowing for the smooth passage of super-large container ships and oil tankers. Although ships of this size cannot pass through the Panama Canal, the idea of building a canal in Nicaragua is not new in practice. From the 1870s, Americans had planned to build the shortest route connecting the 2 oceans. Even at that time, they already had the proposed map in hand. However, at the beginning of the 20th century, after gaining control of the Panama Canal from the French, the United States decided to abandon the project in Nicaragua. Although they have enjoyed full rights and conducted extensive research on this issue. Finally, the U.S. Congress decided to choose the construction of the Panama Canal. However, from that moment to the present, the world has changed so much. And perhaps it is time we reconsidered a new canal route through Nicaragua. This project is expected to be 3 times the length and twice the depth of the Panama Canal. Furthermore, the plan also includes the construction of 2 major seaports at each end of the channel. Hydropower plants along with many other critical infrastructure projects. This is truly a massive, complex engineering project and, of course, an extremely costly one. Some experts predict the total cost could reach $100 billion, a colossal figure when compared to the initial investment. But watching up to this point, have you ever wondered, What role does China play in this entire story? At first glance, Nicaragua and China seem to have no connection, so why has the question of China's involvement in this project even arisen? In 2013, a colossal project, the Nicaragua Canal, left world opinion utterly astonished. Chinese billionaire Wang Jing has signed an agreement with the Nicaraguan government. Commit to investing up to $50 billion. Accordingly, Hong Kong-based company HK Nicaragua, owned by Mr. Wang Jing, was granted the right to build and operate this canal for a period of 50 years. The Nicaraguan government expects that this canal will open up unprecedented development opportunities. They believe that tens of thousands of new jobs will be created, thereby helping to stimulate and revive the economy, much like the impact the Panama Canal had in the past. President Daniel Ortega declared that this project would help the country escape poverty and pave the way to prosperity. Indeed, that assessment is entirely justified, as Nicaragua itself remains among the group of the world's poorest countries. 2024 ranking, this country ranks 58th on the list of the world. Meanwhile, in the United States, this figure was $85,500, while in Panama, the country that owns the world-famous canal, the figure reached $44,197. In the Americas, Nicaragua ranks only above Haiti in terms of poverty rate. Therefore, building a highly profitable canal could become a life-changing opportunity for the entire nation. However, despite being envisioned with many bright prospects, this project has still faced considerable controversy. Thousands of citizens of Nicaragua have taken to the streets to protest, fearing they will lose their land, homes, and livelihoods. Because of an enacted law, the project was granted the right to expropriate land and waterways anywhere within Nicaragua's territory. According to the planned schedule, approximately 120,000 residents will have to leave their homeland. For farmers who have been tied for generations to the land of their ancestors, it wasn't just a material loss, but also an immense psychological shock. Consecutive protests broke out to strongly oppose the policy of forced land acquisition. In 2019, a judge in Nicaragua sentenced 3 leaders to prison terms totaling hundreds of years. These individuals are accused of involvement in a failed coup attempt. But fundamentally, the root cause stems from opposition to the massive canal project. From the moment the project was announced, residents expressed numerous concerns, particularly in 2018. When large-scale protests broke out across the country, livelihoods but also poses a serious threat to the environment and the nation. Lake Nicaragua, the largest freshwater lake in Central America, is facing the serious risk of devastation. This is not only a vital water source, but also a provider of food for thousands of residents living around the lake. However, since the lakebed is too shallow for large vessels to enter and exit, there is a plan to dredge it. This will destroy aquatic habitats, pollute water sources, and push many native fish species to the brink of extinction. Moreover, the project also has a severely negative impact on the local natural ecosystem. The primeval forests and nature reserves here are home to many rare animal species, including the jaguar, the formidable predator of Central America. When roads cut through this territory, their habitat becomes fragmented, leading to a rapid decline in their population. According to scientists, once habitats become fragmented, animal species lose their inherent connectivity. Insufficient conditions for reproduction are leading to an increasingly high risk of extinction. Not only is nature threatened, but humans also suffer heavy losses. According to a report by the World Indigenous Research Center, approximately 10,000 indigenous people in Nicaragua lost their lives in the war to defend their territory. This canal project was approved by the government back in 2013, but notably, more than half of its route will pass through the living areas of indigenous communities, including both the Mochito Rama and Ram Creole people. For generations, indigenous people have continuously struggled to protect their land and culture. But now, the risk of being forced to leave our homeland is growing ever larger. Forests, grasslands, and wetlands, places profoundly connected to their lives. This area will likely be leveled to make way for the project. Beyond the severe impacts on human life and the environment, experts have also warned that the project evaluation process was too rushed. A massive project of this scale should have been thoroughly researched and considered over many years. However, in practice, the evaluation process only took about a year and a half. Compared to similar previous projects, this figure is truly quite modest. For example, the Panama Canal project once took 10 years to complete its environmental impact assessment, but was ultimately cancelled due to perceived excessive risks. Or like the Three Gorges Dam in China, though on a smaller scale compared to the Nicaragua Canal. However, due to the incomplete execution of environmental impact assessments, we are now facing a series of consequences, typically exemplified by the situation of landslides. Water pollution is even a cause of earthquakes in the area. Looking back at the lessons of the past, we realize that a lack of thorough research will exact an exceedingly heavy price. Experts continually warn that without careful calculation, this project will not only have a localized impact at the construction site but also holds the potential to profoundly affect the entire region. Particularly, the greatest concern for many is its impact on Lake Nicaragua. This is an important freshwater region, however, data on water quality and flow here have not yet been comprehensively studied. But why is China particularly interested in this project? To understand that, one must first carefully examine the role of the Panama Canal, a vital artery connecting two major urban centers. Every year, tens of thousands of ships pass through this area, significantly shortening the distance for transporting goods. Instead of taking weeks to go around South America, ships can now travel much faster from China to the east coast of the United States. From San Francisco to New York, the United States is one of the world's most prolific users of canal systems. But China also plays a significant role, and its influence in the region is growing. In 2017, Panama officially joined the Belt and Road Initiative initiated by China. Since then, Beijing has ramped up investment in the seaport system and infrastructure surrounding the canal. However, recently, under pressure from the United States, Panama was forced to withdraw from several agreements. However, a notable point is that China still maintains control over several key areas around the canal. Among the 5 major container ports here, 2 of them, Cristobal and Barber, are located right at the 2 ends of the canal. The historical management of this operation was handled by a company headquartered in Hong Kong. It is precisely due to these concerns that in 2020, China enacted the National Security Law. Allow the government to intervene in the operations of Chinese companies abroad, particularly in sensitive or tense situations. Some experts argue that if a full-scale global conflict were to occur, China is fully capable of leveraging these strategic seaports to increase pressure. Even the operations of U.S. commercial and military vessels were restricted. At the same time, while still maintaining its position as the largest investor in Panama, the volume of U.S. goods shipped through the Panama Canal has dropped significantly. According to data from the Canal Administration Agency, during the period from October 2023 to September 2024, the volume of goods transported along this crucial waterway has decreased by 21%. However, the United States remains the largest user of the canal by far, surpassing other countries. In the last year alone, the volume of U.S. goods passing through this port was 3 times higher than that of China. And what about the situation in Nicaragua? So what? China has long expressed its ambition to build this transnational waterway, to create an alternative transport route to the Panama Canal. With strong financial capacity and extensive experience in implementing large-scale projects, China is fully capable of carrying out this plan. But nearly a decade has passed since the symbolic groundbreaking ceremony in 2014. The project is still at a standstill. As of May 2024, the franchise agreement for the Chinese entrepreneur has officially ended. However, this does not mean China is reducing its influence in the Latin American region. Within just a few decades, the nation has risen to become a formidable trading power in the region, on par with the United States and the European Union. Forecasts indicate that by 2035, China may even surpass the United States to become Latin America's largest trading partner. This is entirely understandable as Latin America possesses incredibly abundant natural resources, particularly lithium and copper, 2 crucial energy sources for the process of electrification and emission reduction in the industrial sector. China not only maintains economic relations with the region but also enhances cooperation in the political sphere through numerous large-scale forums and initiatives, most notably the Belt and Road Project. A prime example of China's investment strategy is the Chancay port in Peru. This is a project implemented by China's Costco Shipping and Port Corporation. The first phase of the port was completed in late 2024 and officially inaugurated on November 14 of the same year. According to expert assessments, the event became even more significant with the attendance of Chinese President Xi Jinping and Peruvian President Dina Boluarte. Shanxi Port has the capacity to receive and handle approximately 1 million containers annually in its initial phase, with plans for further expansion in the future. If the calculations are accurate, this port could be a complete game-changer for the region's logistics industry. Once operating stably, the trade route between Latin America and Asia could be opened via a new route. No longer dependent on the Panama Canal or the traditional Atlantic route. Looking at these changes, it's clear the world is entering a phase of significant upheaval. Trade routes, long considered the lifeblood of the global economy, are perhaps about to enter a period of transformation. In the future, will the old order be abolished to pave the way for a new race? This is certainly a development that will require close monitoring. China's Belt and Road Initiative is increasingly expanding and gaining significant influence in the Central America region. Particularly in El Salvador, the country is currently attracting a series of large-scale projects invested in by China. One of these projects is the construction of a new national library, carried out with support from China. However, according to some sources, this project is not merely a cultural work, it conceals deeper intentions behind it. Particularly, every stage of construction is strictly monitored and kept under maximum secrecy, to the absolute extent of not allowing any information to be leaked. However, one undeniable fact remains. A massive building is rising right in the historic center of El Salvador. But the most important thing was not about the library itself. A larger story was unfolding, one that could completely shift the balance of power in the region. A few years ago, China publicly expressed its intention to acquire an island off the coast of El Salvador. This is not just a standard real estate transaction, it is also tied to a very large-scale development project. A Chinese enterprise has proposed a plan to build a deep water port and develop a modern industrial park on the island itself. The project quickly garnered attention from multiple parties, particularly from the United States, a nation with significant influence in the region. 2 years ago, the project was forced to suspend operations due to strong opposition from the United States. However, recent signs indicate that China is returning to pursue its earlier ambitions. The newly proposed recommendations are facing significant concerns from experts and strategic analysts. Many military experts assess that if built, this deep water port would likely be utilized by China as a strategic base. This is an area that has long been within the U.S. sphere of influence. Therefore, China's increasingly visible presence has created a notable shift. This will undoubtedly cause Washington considerable concern. Many people also speculate that if China were to gain control of this port, they are fully capable of deploying naval forces to this region in the future, and that is precisely what the United States certainly does not want to see happen. Currently, the deal to purchase the island mine has not yet reached a final conclusion. However, it is evident that China is continuously expanding its influence in the Latin America and Caribbean region. Not limited to infrastructure projects, but also expanding into long-term strategic visions. However, the factor causing concern among Western countries is not limited to the military aspect. China's economic expansion in the region is currently a hot-button issue. In the coming decade, China is projected to maintain its dominant position in the economic sphere of the Central and South American region, with numerous large-scale projects being deployed extensively across many countries. A prime example would be the event that took place on February 25, 2025. Nicaragua's Ministry of Energy and Mines has partnered with China Communications Construction Company, successfully signed a crucial credit agreement, laying a solid foundation for the N3 wind power project. This is a large-scale project with a capacity of 55 megawatts, deployed in the Esli offshore region of North Nicaragua. According to management's assessment, this project holds immense significance, because this will elevate Nicaragua's power generation industry to new heights. The chosen location for building the wind power plant is not exactly a quiet place either. The Esli Dam area is situated at an altitude of approximately 800 meters above sea level. With year-round strong wind conditions, this place is ideal for harnessing renewable energy. The Nicaraguan government has long identified renewable energy as a key priority sector. And for the past 18 years, They have continuously made substantial investments to develop this sector. As a result, Nicaragua has become one of the fastest-growing renewable energy markets in Latin America. In 2007, only 54% of the Nicaraguan population had access to electricity. A rather low figure compared to other countries in the region, but this rate has now skyrocketed to 99.5%. Even surpassing Costa Rica, this achievement marks a significant step forward, demonstrating the government's tireless efforts in an effort to improve the quality of life for the people. Currently, our next goal is to boost electricity production from renewable energy sources. And the M3 project is expected to create a breakthrough in this